Back in 2010, when I was 8 years old, my sister got her first own laptop for her 13th birthday, a Sony Vaio. Back on the family computer, when she had the chance to, she would always be on it, talking to her friends on Chat Avenue. She was on it so much she was made a moderator. So, of course, driven by pride and popularity, she was straight back on it the day she got her laptop set up. Now, she had a lot of friends on there that she chatted with, but there was one person in particular that she was constantly, and I mean constantly, talking to. Cody240. Cody introduced himself as a 15-year-old boy from Manchester, New Hampshire, but as we are from Kent and he did not specify, we thought the English Manchester. We later find out he traveled from America. I could only describe it as he was almost head over heels in love with my sister, to a point it was almost disturbing. When she got home from school, he would already be there, waiting for her. They would talk far into the night. I would be on the top bunk of our bed, drifting off to sleep, and she would still be talking to him. They would camp sometimes as well, and he would say hello to me if I was there. But he never showed his face on cam, something I should have saw as a red flag for my sister. He just wore long hoodies with his head down and said it would ruin his confidence because he always felt ugly. Most of the time, Cody was really nice and kind to my sister, but sometimes he wasn't. If she wasn't on immediately when she got home, or if we went on holiday or were away, he would become really emotionally abusive. He would spread rumors about my sister, telling everyone in the chat that Gracie, my sister, is a whore. Gracie sends naked pictures and talks badly about all of you, all of which none is true. They would ban him, but he would come back with different names and sob stories until people pitied him enough to let him back in on his other username. My sister would cry her eyes out when the other mods told her of his doings, but as the kind person she is, she would always give him another chance, until enough was enough. And in March of 2011, after almost a year of talking to him, she gave in and told all the other mods to ban him on the site if he ever tries to resurface. It was the summer of 2011, and we have heard nothing from Cody. I'm playing with my friends at lunch one day in my primary school when the lunch monitor comes and tells me my dad is in the waiting room, waiting for me. I find this odd as I walk, as my dad would surely be fast asleep right now, as it is 12 and he works a graveyard shift of 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. 5 days a week. Nevertheless, I go to the office and the receptionist directs me down to the waiting room. I enter and nobody is there, so I sit down for a while, and then I see the silhouette from outside the opaque glass windows. For what was probably around 2 minutes, someone just stood there, loitering, until I asked, "Dad?" A man opened the door and just stared at me, smiling. Alas, it was not my father. If this man was Cody, he was definitely not a 15-year-old boy, more like a late 40s man with poor grooming skills. He was grinning in such a way that one would grin in those dental adverts, and then just like that, he placed a note on the chair next to me and ran out, vaulting over the outside hedge and running down the road in the direction of my sister's secondary school. I picked up the note. It was from my sister's school planner, which I later found out that she had left on the corridor shelf, and which is how I later found out the man had broken into our house. I read the note as best I could with his scribbly writing, and then crumpled it up and shoved it into my jumper sleeve. I started to cry as I walked out. I was scared for my sister and thought he was going to hurt me. The note read, "If I don't find you, at least you will know how much I care from this letter. Baby, we are meant for each other. I came all this way for you. You know I'd do anything. We belong together. You belong with me. I have no reason to live without you. So save me, baby. It will be hard, but save me. Your one and only, X." I felt sick. The receptionist asked me if I was all right, and I told her yes, but I went and cried for the rest of lunch that day. When school finished, I went and got on my bike and rode fast, despite the road being bumpy, typical countryside obstacle course. In the end, I fell off my bike trying to let a car pass, but the adrenaline running through me was so thick, I just placed my bike aside and ran the last sprint to my sister's school. I stopped short outside the gate as I saw the same man waiting outside, arms crossed, something metallic glistening in the side of his pocket. It didn't look like a meat cleaver or something brutal, but it was like a butter knife with more jagged edges. I didn't want to run into him again, so I just put my coat hood up and calmly crossed the road. He was on his phone texting and kind of bobbing his legs like you do when waiting impatiently for something. I got the note out as I fast walked and read it again. My sister had confided a lot to him, but if this was Cody, how could he have found us? And where was my sister now? And then I remembered it was Tuesday, and it was her year's day to have their last 2 periods in the local church. I was guessing I had about 5 minutes before 3:30, and I was out of view of the school, so I had some time to run. I made it to the church as she was leaving with a couple of friends and told her a man was here for her. I gave her the note, and her friends started reading it. She then emerged again, grabbed me, and ran. I asked her why we were running, but she kept pulling my arm to run faster, and we made it to the back of the house until she told me that if that note is from her planner, he already probably knew where she was. We woke up our dad inside and told him what had happened. He read the note, and we all called the police. We came down to the station, and I gave a description. 2 weeks pass. Nothing. Another 2 weeks pass, and we end up going back to the police, but to no avail. No man or Cody was ever found. It was like he never existed. My sister discontinued her use of Chat Avenue after that, but that was only because people kept saying that Cody had come on and told them he's coming back for her, and she will regret leaving the love of her life. Came off Star is typing.
Is anyone else bored? I don't want to play Gmod anymore, and I don't want to play 4 more hours of Battlefield 1.
JRed13 is typing.
Nah, man. I'm having fun. It's just you.
LMI Legend is typing.
Yeah, I'm bored too. Let's go do some other shit. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. It was 4 a.m. and I had school tomorrow. My friends finally convinced me to pull an all-night gaming marathon. I sighed, knowing that I would regret this in the morning, and finally forced myself to open my eyes. You guys are fucking weird then. We gotta pass the time somehow. We got like 2.5 hours left until school. What do you guys suggest? Hey, how about World of Tanks? I thought about it for a second, but World of Tanks was really not my type of game. If anything, I wanted to play some Rainbow Six Siege, but nobody else in my group liked it. They thought it was really slow-paced and wasn't a lot of fun. Yeah, no, fuck World of Tanks. Too gritty anyways, and not fun enough to grind for good tanks. Yeah, man, I guess I can agree with that. Hey, can we start a group call or something? I'm sick of typing. Hell no. My ears hurt from wearing this headset for 8 hours, and I don't want to hear you guys talking into it. I just want to play. Sound off, KK?
Martin has joined this room.
Who the fuck is Martin? I got no clue. Who invited him? Yeah, not me. Hey Martin, who the fuck are you?
Martin is typing.
Hello, friend.
Alright, which one of you guys is using an alternate account? I'm not prone to spooks. Good effort though. Hey man, I'm not doing it. Yeah, same here. Kick him maybe? Yeah, I got it. I place my hand on the mouse and click on Martin's name. What came up was a profile with no name, bio, and a solid black profile picture. Scrolling down, I discovered that the account had only been made a few days before. Okay, seriously, who the fuck is doing it? The account was made like a few days ago. Don't try and fuck with me. It's not me, man. Hey, just kick him already, and let's go play something. Alright, but if you're fucking with me, tell me tomorrow. I'm really curious to see which one of you guys did it. I right-clicked on Martin and multiple options came up. I clicked on kick and clicked out of the menu. Okay, he should be gone now. That was fucking strange. It was probably Legend though, man. He's a dick like that.
Martin is typing.
What the fuck is going on? Seriously, it's one of you. And if you don't tell me, I'll kick you. I promise.
Group call started.
I nearly fell out of my chair, not realizing that my speakers were actually not muted. The sudden ring caught me off guard. I quickly hit mute on the speakers and turned back to the screen.
Martin, LMI Legend, plus one other person are calling.
I was starting to worry. This was just too bizarre to ignore. I tried kicking Martin again, but it didn't work. Confused, I looked at the call pop-up. Whoever this was, I decided that I should at least play along for now. I moved the mouse over to the green pickup call button and clicked. The text to the chat room was replaced by the call screen, showing the profile picture of my two friends, along with the solid black profile picture that this Martin guy had. I quickly plugged in my headphones and put them on. Breathing. The sound of someone breathing into their microphone was what I was greeted with. When I put on my headphones, it was extremely loud, like the person had the microphone right up to their mouth. The microphone clearly did not have a pop filter, as the breathing came out loud and distorted. I quickly turned down my volume, as the breathing was beginning to hurt my head. In the background, I heard both of my friends talking, but I simply could not make out what they were saying. After a little while, both of my friends hung up. Putting my hand on the mouse, I began moving it towards the red hang up button, but I was interrupted by a sudden change on my screen. The solid black square of a profile picture was replaced with a loading icon. This Martin person was turning on their camera. Now here's something that you need to know about me. I'm the type of asshole who has to be skeptical about everything. Whenever I see something on the internet that I simply doubt, I will ask questions. If somebody shows me a supposedly haunted video, I usually just end up laughing and counter it with simple logic. However, what I saw was something completely different. It was not a hoax or some asshole trying to joke around. What I saw was real. The loading icon disappeared and was replaced with an image, black. That was the first thing I saw. Then, I saw a slight movement. As I examined the darkness more and more, I realized that I was seeing somebody walking. At first, I wasn't sure where, but then I saw grass. It wasn't very visible, but I saw it. Suddenly, the darkness was replaced by a bright light. The person walking had just turned on a flashlight. I looked closely and saw grass, as well as a tree in the distance. The person then turned around, and my blood ran cold with terror. I realized exactly where the man was. When he turned around, he pointed the camera at a house. It was pitch black, except for a single bright and slightly yellow glow coming from the second floor window. Right next to the man was my father's grill, with folding chairs placed around it. To the far right of the house, I saw the small garden shed that we had, specifically used for storing tools. The man was standing in my backyard. I leapt out of my chair and ran downstairs to make sure both the front and back doors were locked. Realizing that they were, I ran back upstairs and looked at my screen, scrolled down past the countless messages of my friends asking me if I was okay or if I was asleep, to see a single message from Martin.
I go in now.
Jerking away from the computer screen, I looked to the single window in my room, overlooking the backyard. My backyard was mostly empty, with almost nothing but a tree in the middle. On the tree stood a man, a very tall yet thin man. This man was wearing almost nothing, other than some tore-up jeans and a shirt. He must have triggered the motion sensor garden lights, as the whole garden was now lit up. I could see almost every detail, and what I saw terrified me. The man was crouching on a branch, with a crazed spark in his eyes. His mouth was now stretched into a wide, insane grin. and I could see his horrible rotten yellow teeth. In his hand, he held a mobile phone and a flashlight. Suddenly, he tossed the flashlight and his phone to the side. He leapt down off the tree and towards the back door of the house. I heard loud banging noises and what sounded like wailing coming from downstairs. My parents burst through my door, asking me what the hell was going on. My younger brother stood by their side, grasping at my father's leg. I didn't know what to say, so I just told them that there was a man downstairs trying to get in. They rushed downstairs and told me to lock my brother in the upstairs bathroom. Holding my brother's hand, we walked together towards the bathroom. Closing and locking the door, I sprinted downstairs towards the back door and almost vomited. The insane man was dragging the body of my father along the ground. If it wasn't for my mother's nightgown, I wouldn't have realized what the red pile near the door was. That bloody pile of skin and meat was my mother. I screamed and locked the back door, only to see the insane man dash towards the door on all fours through the door's window. Stumbling back in fear, I ran to the upstairs bathroom and asked my brother to unlock the door. He complied, and I rushed in, locking it behind me. I have been sitting in this damned bathroom for hours, with nothing but my brother and my laptop. My little brother keeps telling me that he's hungry. I don't know if I can take much more of this, but starving to death seems better than confronting that monster. My laptop is almost dead now, and I don't know what to do. A few hours back, I heard the sound of a window sliding open, and for the last hour I've been hearing this insane babbling, as well as the sound of footsteps, and it sounds as if this thing is running all over the house, crawling all over the walls, looking for us. The worst part is 5 minutes ago it all stopped. I no longer heard footsteps or the insane babbling. The banging is gone as well. The worst part is that deep down, I want those sounds to come back, because anything is better than listening to this thing sit patiently outside my door, breathing and scratching at the handle.
I recently decided to look back at really old live journal entries and was reminded that I dealt with a lot of creepers when I was younger. The one below was definitely the worst, mostly because I was being groomed to slowly cave to his requests, or he would get annoyed and guilt trip me, and or try other methods of manipulation. I was a prime target for older guys when I was young. I was introduced to the internet at 7, before the dangers of the internet were really well known, and I became very savvy at skirting parental barriers and restrictions that had been put in place online for my safety. This was back in the days of AOL, where roleplay in public chat rooms was common. In this particular story, I was 14, lonely, and had little to no self-esteem, was unhappy in general, and was very flattered when older guys found me interesting enough to talk to me for months at a time, sometimes longer. The main villain of this story was in his late 20s and had known me online for about a year, possibly more. We met in one of the role-playing chat rooms on AOL and eventually realized that we lived in the same state, though he was about 30 minutes outside of my city. He went by the handle Kane. He was tall, lanky, black hair, and wore a dark cabbie hat. He always looked brooding in his pictures he'd send to me. Our friendship started off very innocently. I enjoyed role-playing original characters, and he was interested in that as well. Eventually, it progressed to talking regularly out of character and becoming friends. As time went on, he started pushing me to roleplay more sexual situations, which I refused, and eventually would tell me sexual things he wanted to do to me, which scared me. I kept brushing it off because when sex wasn't the forced topic of discussion, I otherwise enjoyed talking to him. I was very active on LiveJournal at this time, back in 2002, so while I have very little proof in terms of pictures or chat logs, having deleted them all, I finally realized how predatory this guy was. I do have really old LiveJournal entries that describe the relationship we had and how anxious he made me, despite the fact that we talked, role-played pretty regularly. December 3rd, 2002. Role-played with Kane today. Wasn't bad. He's happy that I brought his favorite character back to RP with, so he's been less annoying. But then he began to bug me about meeting him. I've been trying to avoid him because he usually tells me what he wants to do when we begin to see each other in real life, and it usually involves something sexual. I'm sure I could get out of it if I met him, but I don't know if I want to take that chance. December 5th, 2002. I got out of role-playing with Kane today. It's not bad, really, our role-play. I mean, I'm unwilling to do anything sexual, and though he bugs me about it, I still won't. But he wants to RP like every minute, and so I snapped at him today. He said sorry, then cooled off for the rest of the day. Yay. There are a lot more entries in the same vein as above, but those give a pretty good representation of how I felt about him. I felt obligated to keep talking to him though because, there was this older, sophisticated guy who thought I was worthy of his time. My mindset has changed a lot since then. So, at some point between December 3rd and December 14th, I had caved to his relentless pestering and agreed to meet him at a movie theater I frequented with my family. This is mostly because he knew the apartment complex where I lived, but not my apartment number, and had threatened to stand outside the apartment gates and wait for me to get home from school. Related tangent, he didn't have a car and lived at home, so his mom would give him a ride. But a day later, I backed out of the agreement because I couldn't get rid of a deeply unsettling feeling that had grown once I'd agreed to meet up, even in a public area. Needless to say, he wasn't happy, but had stopped bringing it up regularly and we continued chatting as normal. He was still paying attention though, and I was in the habit of putting stuff in my AOL away message like going to the movies, of course, at the movie theater he now knew about. December 14th, 2002. I came so close to meeting Kane today. So freaking close. I saw him. I'd left the movie early to go to the bathroom, and I saw him. He was facing the other way. I saw him and ran. Now my mind is racing and I'm feeling so guilty. I didn't want to meet him. Online he makes me nervous enough, but in real life? I told him when we'd be going to the movie today, not realizing that he'd try to meet me. He was inside the lines, which means he'd paid for a ticket to get there. I passed him, so close I could have reached out and grabbed his arm, but I didn't. I walked by next to my sister, hoping he wouldn't stop, and he didn't. But I recognized him. He didn't recognize me. Now, what do I tell him? He paid money to get in there. He had his mom drive a half hour to get him there. What do I tell him? I can't get online on any screen name that he knows. He'll be online. He is online. Should I tell him that I saw him, thought he saw me, but he passed by? That is the truth. I didn't call out or go back because 1, I was nervous, and 2, Mom was already out the doors and my sister was pulling me along. Or should I tell him I didn't see him and went out the back? That won't work. His mom was in the back. I saw her too. We parked in the back and left out the front. He had both exits covered. I know his mom saw me. She recognized me. What'll she tell him? What do I tell him? I'm wondering, what would have happened if I had walked up to him when I left the movie early? Because I could have. I ran. What would have happened? At this point, I still didn't have the courage to stop talking to him, but I did at least tell him, again, that I wasn't comfortable meeting him. Unfortunately, I had mentioned previously that I had planned on going to the movie with my 2 high school friends, Anna and Cherish, to celebrate finals being over, and had told him not to go. December 19th, 2002. He was there again. Kane. He said he wouldn't be. Shit. I didn't see him until Anna told me. Steph, look over there on that bench. Is that him? Meaning Kane. She'd seen a picture of him. And I freaked. I'm positive I look like a deer in headlights. I stared, glanced away, stared, glanced away, He stared right back. Oh! I almost ran out the door. I was really close to running all the way back to Anna's car. Kept looking back at the theater, wondering if he was going to follow me. He said he wouldn't be there. I wasn't prepared. I can't meet him. Yet, how will I explain this? I could say I didn't see him, and I wouldn't have if Anna hadn't pointed him out. Damn it. This just ruined it. Seeing him. After the movie, it ruined it. But then, after seeing him, it was hard to think about the movie. I just wanted to run. That's a sign, as Cherish said. I really don't want to meet him. I'm scared to meet him. What do I tell him next time I see him online? It'll be a while. I just blocked him. I'm hiding. Only those on my buddy list can IM me. I removed him from my buddy list completely. Crap. When I calm down, I'll post about how great Lord of the Rings The Two Towers was. I saw someone videotaping it in the theater, lol. Until then, I need to calm down. I vividly remember the terror I felt when I saw him both times. This time, I gave myself a couple of days to recover before talking to him again. December 22nd, 2002. I'm talking to Kane right now. It's been bugging me to no end that I ignored him and haven't figured out yet whether he saw me Thursday or not. So I took him off ignore just now, and he said he didn't see me. I didn't tell him that I saw him. Apparently, the girl staring at him weirdly wasn't news to him. This is what he said to me. Everyone who went by looked at me like, the hell is this kid sitting here for? I keep saying I didn't see him because if it wasn't for Anna pointing him out, I really wouldn't have. He says, I looked everyone over, never saw you. This is weird. Am I destined to, not see you? This is fate, damn it. I'll keep letting him believe that. But suddenly, talking to him, now that I've gotten the whole did you see me thing cleared up, I'd rather stick him on ignore and not talk to him for a long time. I think it's because I came so close to meeting him again, and this time he came very close to recognizing me. I'm going to end up ignoring him for a while. I never took him off ignore. At some point, I moved on to another screen name, forgetting to tell him my new one, and we lost touch permanently. I no longer live in that state, but it was years before I stopped fearing running into him while out and about. But then the kicker, and what made me write this out today. I searched his name just out of curiosity based on locational keywords within Google in my old state. The first to pop up was, you guessed it, his mugshot. Apparently he was arrested for breaking and entering multiple times into a local girl's home that claimed he had been stalking her for months. I feel terrible for her, but ever the more thankful that it wasn't me.
Let me set the scene. The year is 1998. Monica Lewinsky has denied that she fucked the president, and the euro is created. I was of the age of 14, sitting on my parents' desktop PC, using god-awful dial-up internet to research the history of William the Conqueror's harrying of the North, when my friend, who for the purposes of this story shall be called Jake, messaged me on IRC. Hey, some dude at school told me something really cool you can do on your PC. What? I asked. 1. Open up Start. 2. Go to Run. 3. Enter 2ndrely2.frt. 4. Tell me when you're done. I did what he told me. What opened up looked like some type of command prompt. It had 2 boxes that text should be entered into, and a regular command line. Done, I informed him. In the box, write your name. In the second, write a password. And in the other bit, write rtileoh.us. I did exactly what I was told, and a box telling me to enter a nickname popped up. I wrote Tom Elton. The window closed. A few moments later, a batch file opened that said, Welcome to the Artile, Ohio chat room. User Tom Elton has joined. I spent the next few months talking to my friends on that chat room. I had no idea who created it or hosted it. It seemed to only work in the Artile, Ohio area, meaning I could talk to anyone there in theory. The only people who were there was me, Jake, and a couple of other people I was friends with. Someone from the preparatory school across town, and once, somebody who claimed to work for the insurance company's tech support, who left after the only response he got was, "What school you at?" I don't know why we used this instead of a normal chat room. Maybe the whole secret gathering aspect of it made us more drawn to it. I don't know for sure. I woke up one fall morning and checked the chat room and found out that I had been promoted to an administrator. I had no idea who did it, but I got to brag to my friends for the next few days and change what people were typing to make them look dumb. But other than that, my powers went unused, until one day, I logged on to see that the anonymous messages to admins was not empty for a change. I wish I didn't check to see what was there. It was a full story from a user called 09HDI7RF, written in multiple single-sentence messages. They described how they were being physically and sexually abused by their parents, how they weren't allowed to go outside the house, and how she snuck into her dad's computer and saw this chat room open, and decided to tell anybody she could. Well, I assumed it was one of my friends fucking with me. I responded with, "Who is this? Also, if this was real, you would have called the cops, retard." Later that day, the chat room stopped working. I couldn't get it to work at all. I got an error message every time I searched the command on my PC's run feature. I was royally pissed off with the fact that me and my friend's secret hidey hole was now dead. 2 days later, what do I see in the news? Girl shot dead by her father after breaking out of her home through a window. The mother was in police custody, but the father was never caught. The family's PC contains documents describing kids named Jake, Tom, and others, describing what he imagined their appearance to be and what he would do to them if he ever found them, which was too horrific to describe here. That man was never caught, to my knowledge. He is still on the run today, hiding amongst everyone. I'm certain that he will never be caught.
I wrestled with the thought of writing this. Maybe it is best to have some record of this for no other reason than to clear my mind and organize my thoughts. It's funny how that works, right? You just start typing, and even though it may not make much sense at first, as long as you keep moving your hands, the stream of consciousness flows out of you into whatever prison you wish to lock it away in. Like some kids who grew up in the 90s, I got on the net sometime in 96 with AOL. Back then, whenever they would talk about the internet, it would be the information superhighway or some other oddball name that never quite fit. Remember AOL keywords on every TV or radio ad that had the internet? Pretty silly now, but no one knew what would become of the net. You could chat, play games, and delve outside the walled garden of AOL into the web as a whole. Out there you could find and do anything you wanted. It was truly the Wild West of the time. No social media, no e-commerce, no pop-ups or link farms, at least not how we view them today. I would frequent chat rooms, and soon fell in with a group of regulars most days after school. We hung out in a Simpsons-themed chat room called Moe's the Bartender's Chat Room. I hung out with Whitehorse, Dark Raven, and a few others. Raven always claimed she could beat anyone up who harassed us, and would smash them with her thighs. Whitehorse always kept her in line, and I enjoyed just reading them banter, interjecting from time to time, and occasionally telling about my day. Every now and then the others would make reference to something I didn't recall saying. Opinions on a book series, I was big into Redwall at the time, or telling me stuff about themselves I never asked about. It was always casual, like, "No one you asked me about," and I chalked it up to me being forgetful or tired. All carried on pretty normal, until one day I logged on and was immediately messaged by Whitehorse. Whitehorse says, "Dude, why were you being such a jerk? You need to cut it out." What? I didn't do anything. You were just in here being a jerk to Raven and just insulting everyone. What are you talking about? I just got home. Whoever it was wasn't me. Chat rooms back then had no way to authenticate, so anyone could be anyone and could enter any name they wanted. There was a way in the chat room to make it so you could see the IP of people talking. However, since this was the 90s and most people were on dial-up, IP addresses tended to change every time you dialed into your ISP. Check my IP, it wasn't me. You could have just relogged, man. Seriously, it wasn't me. Well, how am I supposed to know? Look, I'll give you my school ID number. If you think it's not me, ask me in a PM, and if it is me, I will give you the number. Okay, what's the number? I gave Whitehorse and Dark Raven the number of my school ID. I kept going there for a few months. Whitehorse or Raven would PM me when I logged on to make sure it was me. One time I came in and noticed something odd. My nick was on the user list twice. That only happens if there is a connection issue and it thinks you are logged in twice, but it only lasts a few minutes. A chill ran down my spine. I had not logged in at all yet today, yet there I was talking with everyone else, and still was. I PM'd Whitehorse. Dude, it's that guy pretending to be me. What's going on? Huh? I already checked you out, man. You gave me the ID. No, I haven't. I just got home. It was at that point my heart leapt into my throat, and I could feel it beating fast and hard, and my arms felt like they were throbbing in time with the heartbeats. It was in response to seeing a new message. From me, but not me. Hello. Nice of you to join us. I was just telling them about our day. Who are you? Leave me alone and stop pretending to be me. You have such a nice life here, you know. It was by this time I was really starting to freak out. I messaged Whitehorse and Dark Raven that the fake me knew my ID and was scaring me. I also said I am leaving and not coming back. The last thing I saw was a plea from Dark Raven going, "Please don't go," as the window closed. I removed the bookmark and swore never to use the nick online again. And that was the first time I met the fake me, and I was terrified of him finding me again. He did a few times as my teenage years continued. Each time I came up with a new moniker and cut ties with the community I was involved with, giving him a new life of friends and people to talk to. I managed to lose him a decade later in my 20s during college, when I didn't talk to people much outside of a few friends and lurking in forums. I had thought I lost him for good. A few years back after lunch, I returned to my office with my work phone blinking with a voicemail. I typed in my code and pressed the key for playback. A modified voice sounding like one of the toy Darth Vader's voice modulators said,
I found you.
I felt then the same fear in the chat room over 15 years ago. The same terror I felt as a young boy as all the old memories came rushing in. I tried to find the number in my phone logs, but it was blocked. It was from that point I would notice odd things, mostly random cars following me, or cars that would come down to my dead-end road at night turning around in my driveway. I tried to pass this off as being paranoid at first. Some things would just set me off and I would fixate for a while. One time though, not long after the call, I was heading home from my parents at night when I noticed an SUV tailgating me. No big deal. I changed lanes over to the right to let them pass. They switched lanes after me and stayed on my tail. I slowed down, and they got even closer and turned on their high beam lights. I had a small Corolla back then, and this was a giant SUV with big 4-light headlamps. I was blinded momentarily while I adjusted the mirrors to not reflect so much light into my face. I changed lanes again, and they kept with me. Now I was scared. I turned into my neighborhood and started driving into a large circle with them following me. I think at this point they figured they had made their point and veered off back to the main road. I cautiously made my way home, constantly looking for the SUV, and parked out back behind the house. I quickly made my way in and called my dad in a panic. He figured that I may have just cut the guy off and he was trying to yell at me or something. It didn't reassure me much, and I had trouble sleeping the rest of that night. I would get up and constantly check the windows to look down the street. I'm not sure, but I think the SUV drove by the entrance to my dead-end street. I don't know if it was the fake me from Mo's chat room, but my paranoia has led me to sleep with a pistol in my nightstand by my bed. Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the guest narrator today, be sure to subscribe to Unit 522's channel for frequent stories and content just like this. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.